2017 Ford Focus RS. There can be no draw in a car and driver comparison test. To the editors who weighed in on this particular face-off, this unwritten rule now seems as arbitrary and unjust as the one that says we can't bring pet parakeets into the office. Because after we crunched the test numbers, cast our ballots, and topped the fuel tanks for the final time, the scorecard showed a dead heat, a conclusion that fittingly captured our affinity for both cars. Ford's Focus RS rides to near victory on the strength of its 350 horsepower inline-four. The 2.3-liter is equal parts raucousness and polish, a four-pot Ric Flair. Even though torque peaks at a relatively high 3,200 revolutions per minute, the Focus lands at its 350 pound-to-foot pedal on a steady swell rather than the ladybug and surge that's common with high-output boosted four cylinders. This steroidal Focus launches from its 6,700 revolution per minute fuel cutoff with graceful clutch engagement and the light chirp of the front tires, resulting in a 4.5 second 0 to 60 slingshot. On overrun, the engine sounds like Satan's own popcorn maker. And as proof that Honda's resurgence is not yet complete, the Ford has the more satisfying shifter with fluid movements. The heftier clutch gives better feel through the friction point, too. You don't buy an all-wheel drive car for its ability to drift, and the Focus RS is no exception. Drift mode only makes momentary overtures at sustained tire-decimating slides. The RS's torque-vectoring rear differential does help the 3,465-pound Ford dive into corners with a playful eagerness. The Focus's 0.99 grams of lateral stick and 160-foot stopping distance can't match the Civic's performance, but the precision in the Ford's controls and the reckless abandon the car invites make every squiggle of pavement just as remarkable. You pilot the Focus from a tall and upright seating position similar to a crossover's, and from this perch, you are well aware that both the Focus's roof and its center of gravity sit substantially higher than the Type R's. The snug Recaro buckets, too snug for some, are endlessly supportive with enough adjustability for all-day comfort. Deep cutouts on the back side of those front seats make for decent rear legroom in a car with a 2-inch shorter wheelbase than the Civic's, and the Focus delivers more rear headroom than the Honda. We've complained about the busyness of the audio and climate controls in prior Focus RS tests, but that's a bluff. We'd happily spend plywood knobs if it meant fewer controls migrated to touch screens. Compared with the Honda, the Focus offers more tactile controls for the crucial functions. The Focus RS only met its defeat on the 5-hour drive from Pennsylvania to our Michigan home office. Forced to choose a winner, we docked the RS another point for its spirit-sapping ride. Stiffly sprung, the car pogos over expansion joints, making backs jiggle like B-cups and heads bob like sheep baseball game giveaways. Tapping the end of the turn signal stalk activates a stiffer damper setting that only harshens the already rough ride. Driving a Focus RS is a never-ending party. Maybe we're getting old, but we're not sure we could do it every day.
Overview: the R is the chief of a sprawling Volkswagen Golf drive, joining most of its family members on Car and Driver's 10 Best Cars list, and is the hottest Golf ever to prowl U.S. roads. The Golf R gives VW hot hatchback parity with the Ford Focus RS and a formidable weapon against the soon-to-arrive Honda Civic Type R. The structure is exceptionally rigid, something the R shares with the rest of the family. Amplified by the standard Haldex all-wheel drive system, dubbed 4Motion by VW's marketers, overall grip is exceptional and approaches the magic 1.00 grand threshold. Braking is close to sports car levels, and power from the 2.0-liter turbo four-cylinder is abundant, peaking at 292 horsepower and 280 pounds-to-foot of torque. The cosmetic treatment is typical Golf, that is, understated, a word that also applies to the interior. That means the Golf R is much more of a wallflower than either the Focus RS or the Civic Type R, which might be a positive or negative attribute, depending on your personal perspective, and perhaps your age. There's no shortage of contemporary infotainment, but the leather-wrapped flat-bottom steering wheel and the supremely supportive leather buckets reflect the true nature of the beast. Like its stablemates, the R's hatchback body provides practicality and versatility, just as this line of cars has delivered since its 1974 debut. But performance is the key here, and this Golf raises its quickness and athletic competence to an all-time high. What's new? Introduced in 2015, the newest Golf R rolls into 2017 with a few changes. Top trim cars with the dynamic chassis control system, adaptive damping, firmer suspension tuning, 19-inch wheels, now come standard with automatic high beams as well as last year's driver assistance package, lane departure warning, forward collision warning, blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control, and parking sensors. A 6-speed manual became the default transmission last year. We've tested ours with both transmissions, and compared to a Golf R with the optional DSG automatic, the stick-shift car trims 80 pounds from the curb weight and $1,100 from the sticker price, but it adds 0.7 seconds to the 0 to 60 mph run. What we like: it requires more resistance than we possess to be indifferent to a car with the Golf R's performance resume. The blend of power, particularly the torque curve, which approximates the flat topography of Nebraska, and agility, plus all-wheel drive grip and outstanding braking make this hottest of Golfs easy to drive fast. In addition to eager responses and ample power, it's also very forgiving. And while we appreciate the crisp engagements of the 6-speed manual gearbox, we'll admit that the lightning action of the dual-clutch automatic is habit-forming. Think of the DSG-equipped Golf R as an Audi S3, the two share the same powertrain, but with hatchback usefulness and a $2,565 rebate. What we don't like: the Golf R might benefit from a diet, albeit a mild one. Yes, all-wheel drive adds pounds. And yes, the front drive GTI is less than 300 pounds lighter. But pairing even 50 pounds would add more zeal to the R's responses. Speaking of responses, one of the very few staffed fetches on the Golf R dynamic scorecard is turbo lag. If the transmission is a cog or two out of optimum and revs are low, that wonderfully flat torque plateau is preceded by a slow climb to the sweet spot. There's also a price-value issue here, since a Golf GTI will duplicate about 90% of the Golf R's performance for some $10,000 less.